Well, one of the adjunct members of the Hamas caucus is the venerable and intelligent Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I'm joking. Of course, she's a moron. There's an intersectional coalition to take on the halls and the pillars of power. You wonder why AOC got sucked into this thing? You think AOC knows bleep about the Middle East? AOC barely knows how to tie her shoes in the morning. AOC can't make herself a bowl of oatmeal. That lady has the IQ of a kumquat. What is she? I mean, there's literal tape of her with Margaret Hoover explaining she knows nothing about the Middle East. Nothing.
You use the term the occupation of Palestine. What did you mean by that?
I think what I meant is like the settlements that are increasing in some of these areas and places where Palestinians are experiencing difficulty in access to their housing and homes.
Do you think you can expand on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd also I am not the expert on geopolitics on this issue, you know?
And yet that lady is extremely vocal about all of this. Why? Well, because again, she is part of the dispossessed coalition. This is the intersectional coalition that must be upheld at all costs, even at the expense of lots and lots of dead Jews. That's what's going on here. This is why AOC, party girl of the Democratic Socialists of America, is suddenly deeply concerned about Iron Dome. And this ridiculous Instagram, TikTok dope. I mean, here she was yesterday talking about tax the rich and slicing lemons on the Instas. Also, she's very much in favor of the Hamas. She kind of likes them. They're kind of cool. Why? They would kill her first opportunity, by the way. I mean, like, one of my favorite things about the intersectional coalition is that they're willing to ride or die with Hamas up until the point where Hamas actually kills them. I noted yesterday, again, at the University of Florida, there were two protests that were simultaneously held outside my lecture at the University of Florida, both fairly small. One of them was a protest by the LGBTQ crowd, and the other was a protest by the pro-Hamas crowd. They get along all the way until the pro-Hamas crowd decides to kill every member of the LGBTQ crowd. In any case, here was AOC yesterday promoting her democratic socialist ideals like, well, oh my God, like here's a lemon, and I can slice it, and it's like a citrus. Ooh.
Shout out to my radicals who think that maybe one way that we can deal with a lot of the shortfall that we have is to do things like legalize marijuana and tax the commerce on that so that we can fund our schools. Or, I don't know, tax the rich. Maybe we can tax the rich so that people who have helipads on their house or near their house can help chip in for...
If you shake your head like AOC, it makes you intelligent. It doesn't make you look like a doofus from the Valley circa 1997. If you go like this a lot, it means that you're smart, according to the media. By the way, that sweatshirt she's wearing, the Tax the Rich sweatshirt, you can buy it for $58 on her website. Exciting news from the Tax the Rich crowd. Last month, the G20 announced a plan to impose digital currencies and digital IDs on their respective populations. The G20, the Group of 20, it's an international forum for governments and central bank governors. It was established in response to the financial crises of the late 1990s with the aim of promoting international financial stability. Central bank digital currencies allow the government to track every purchase you make. They could even give officials the ability to prohibit you from purchasing certain items or freeze your account altogether. There's reason to be concerned about that. If you haven't yet, you need to call Birch Gold today. Talk to an expert about preserving your savings in a tax-sheltered retirement account. I've been a customer of Birch Gold Group for years. They make it really easy to convert your savings into precious metal. So if you have an IRA or 401k from a previous employer that's just gathering dust, call up Birch Gold. They'll help you convert it into an IRA in gold. You're not going to pay a penny out of pocket. Listen, diversification is just a smart strategy with your money. Text Ben to 989898. Birch Gold will send you a free info kit on gold. If digital currency becomes a reality, you'll be glad you have something physical to fall back upon. Text Ben to 989898. Claim your free info kit on gold today. The world has obviously witnessed heinous attacks by Hamas terrorists against innocent Israeli civilians. The most recent attack was massive. It was devastating. Killed over 1,500 Israeli men, women, children, babies. Thousands more have been injured. 200 are being held hostage after being kidnapped. The sworn enemy of Israel and the Jews will stop at nothing to slaughter every last Jew, obviously, but there is something you can do. The International Fellowship of Christians and Jews is on the ground right now, providing critical essentials like food, medicine, and other emergency supplies for vulnerable Jews who need immediate help. The need is urgent. This organization needs your help right now. To donate, please go to benforthefellowship.org. Give as generously as you can. Write it down. That is benforthefellowship.org. Again, I've been making recommendations on many places that you can give. One of the best places you can give is the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews. They're helping people on the ground right now in Israel. There's tremendous need. There are families that have been absolutely, like, completely destroyed. Tons of new orphans, tons of new widows, tons of people who are in desperate need. Head on over to benforthefellowship.org. And if you have money in your wallet or the inclination, please give generously, benforthefellowship.org. In any case, again, the Intersectional Coalition is all, and the entire media are in support of this. This is why, for example, Charles Blow has a piece at the New York Times. Again, his name is apt. His columns absolutely blow. They are awful universally. He has an entire piece of the New York Times today called An Evolving Moral High Ground in the Israel-Gaza War. What is the evolving moral high ground, pray tell? The first two paragraphs tell the whole story. The terrorist attack by Hamas against Israelis was horrid, barbaric, and inexcusable. What is happening to innocent citizens of Gaza is also horrid and not a justifiable response to terrorist attacks. So retaliating against Hamas is the same thing as Hamas, by the way, including tons of Gazan civilians. I know this is part of the story that nobody wants to tell because it's ugly and it suggests that there are a lot of Gazan civilians who actually kind of love Hamas. But there's tons of footage during the actual terrorist assault, worst attack on Jews since the Holocaust, of tons of Gazan civilians. We're talking about kids as young as 14, 15 years old, running into Jewish areas and stealing things or participating in the violence. But according to Charles Blow, there's a moral equivalence. Why does he have to maintain the moral equivalence? Again, it seems kind of weird. Why is it that advocates for Black Lives Matter, which is supposedly a civil rights organization, are protesting on behalf of one of the worst civil rights and human rights violators on planet Earth? Why are they doing that? Again, intersectional coalition. That's all that matters. And the media continue to lie on behalf of this intersectional coalition across the West. CBS News, disgusting. So we all know at this point, it has been thoroughly and completely debunked that the hit on the Gaza hospital either killed 500 people, because it didn't hit the hospital, it hit a parking lot, or two, that it even was done by the Israelis. It was done by Palestinian Islamic Jihad. There is audio tape we played yesterday on the show of Hamas operatives talking to one another and saying, oh boy, that was us, wasn't it? Oh yes, it was. It doesn't matter. Here's how CBS News covered it. It was still Israel's fault.
The aftermath of the massive explosions at the Al Ahli hospital is still a smoking wreck. What should have been a safe haven has turned into a living nightmare. We left our home to come here, this woman says. We thought it would be safe, but then we got bombed. The Anglican Church, which runs the hospital, has said it was struck before by an Israeli rocket just 4 days earlier, injuring 4 members of staff. Speaking to CBS News, Fadl Naim, a doctor at Al Ahli, says Israel's army sent a warning to evacuate the facility less than 48 hours before that explosion.
Okay, now pause. You may notice that in that entire clip, is there anything mentioning the fact that it was a Palestinian Islamic Jihad rocket that fell in the parking lot of the hospital? Not a single thing. They're just ignoring it. They're pretending the story doesn't even exist. They're pretending the truth doesn't even exist, these scumbags. The media truly have blood on their hands because it turns out that when you spin up terrorist supporters with lies about the blood libel Jews, it turns out people die because of that. But the media don't care. Christiane Amanpour, another Hamas fan, here she was yesterday promoting the idea that it was the IDF lying under these circumstances. Christiane Amanpour is a disgrace to journalism.
Now, the issue is, as you said, no matter what the Israelis say and now what the U.S. say, in the beginning, before there was any quote-unquote there was an investigation and they came to their conclusions. It ignited the Arab world because this they've seen so many times. And because, and I'm sorry to say this, because in the past the Israeli IDF has not been honest about what actually happened. Look at Shireen Abu Akleh. I know that we keep talking about it.
They always cite Shireen Abu Akleh, which was a situation where it was unclear who shot Shireen Abu Akleh. And then, you know who admitted that it was the Israelis? The Israelis. In any case, Christiane Amanpour doing Hamas's work for them, because this is what so many members of the mainstream media do. The BBC, which is absolutely the worst on this. The BBC is so bad on this sort of stuff. The BBC's ingrained anti-Semitism is unbelievably strong, which is why 7 separate journalists from the BBC in the last week alone have had to be fired or suspended because they posted on public media about how they were in solidarity with Hamas. Doesn't matter. Here was a BBC journalist saying the attack had to be Israel, even though it clearly was not Israel.
The Israeli military has been contacted for comment, and they have said that they are investigating. But, it is hard to see what else this could be, really, given the size of the explosion, other than an Israeli airstrike or several airstrikes, because, when we've seen rockets being fired out of Gaza, we never see explosions of that scale. We might see half a dozen, maybe a few more people being killed
These jokers.
in such rocket
Honestly,
attacks.
but why are they doing this? Why? The answer is twofold. One, actual anti-Semitism. So there has been an overt attempt, particularly by members of the left, since 1967, Israel's victory in the Six-Day War. There's been an attempt by the left to basically convert Israel into the world's big baddie. That was originally pushed by the Soviet Union, which was attempting to create a pan-Arab nationalism to use against the United States in the aftermath of Israel's victory in the Six-Day War. That's the geopolitics of this sort of anti-Semitism. But there's also this latent pro-Arabism that has existed, particularly in Britain, for a very long time. I don't know whether it's a weird sort of ethnocentric exoticism that exists in Britain or what the hell it is, but it is pathetically anti-Semitic. And when you promote blood libels the way the BBC routinely does, it costs actual lives. Are you tired of the lies and the twists of the mainstream media talking points? Yeah, me too. Join me in my newest series, Fact, where I dismantle and bring truth to this tiring mainstream agenda.